You ever see $1 billion nearly vanish because of one stupid little mistake? No, I'm not kidding. I watched it happen, and I'm telling you, the look on those executives' faces was almost worth the panic in the air. Picture this, the Technova boardroom, stuffed with Silicon Valley's finest all-sweating bullets over a system failure they couldn't crack, losing more money every minute than most people make in a lifetime. And me, I was nobody, just the girl in the corner, 22 years old, holding a stack of paperwork for my mom, the cleaning lady who'd kept those offices spotless for 15 years. So yeah, you could say I wasn't supposed to be there. I was just doing a favor running those files up because Mom had forgotten them in the break room. But I walked right into the hottest emergency in company history with the CEO, James Mitchell, literally pounding his fist on the glass table and roaring at the engineers. Does anyone know how to fix this? Like he expected the answer to just float up out of thin air. I stood back watching. The fancy suits and degrees didn't make anybody look smarter. They all kept shifting blame, babbling about code this, module that, until the CTO, Victoria Sterling Ice Queen, in a perfect dress, started grilling anyone who opened their mouth. And I don't know, maybe I should have just kept quiet, but the code was right there on the projector. I've been looking at code since I was a teenager, online forums, open source projects, you name it. So I started scanning. Something just clicked. My eyes landed on line 347. I spotted it right away. An extra comma, not a semicolon. Rookie mistake. An infinite loop, shutting down the whole system. I hesitated, then raised my hand, real soft. Excuse me. And man, you'd think I'd dropped a bomb. Every head snapped around. Victoria's lips curled, and you are not a question more like an accusation. I'm Keisha, just dropping off documents for my mom. But I think I see what's wrong. A wave of laughter whispers the CFO Robert Hayes almost choked on his coffee. Young lady, this is $1 billion problem, not some guessing game. I looked at him, tried not to let the nerves show, and said, it's on line 347. You've got a comma where you need a semicolon. Silence. The lead developer, David Chun, got up squinting at the code. I watched his face change. He started typing and then, boom. The system rebooted, lights came back on, everyone staring at me like I'd just grown a second head. You know what I mean? In 30 seconds, I'd saved them $1 billion, and nobody could decide whether to thank me or call security. Victoria and Robert shot each other looks like they'd swallowed wasps, but all I could do was try not to laugh. This wasn't the first time people had written me off, not by a long shot. I'd been solving code problems online for years under the name QuashDev. MIT had offered me a scholarship once, but Mom got sick and I couldn't leave her, so I kept learning in the shadows, solving problems nobody even knew existed. Next few days, the company rumor mill went nuclear. Suddenly, I was the cleaning lady's genius daughter, but instead of celebrating, people got weird. Victoria held some closed-door meetings with her crew, talking like I must have cheated or had inside access. You know the drill, folks with too many credentials can't stand it when someone outside the club does what they can't. What they didn't know and never even asked was that I'd been studying their whole system for years, piecing things together after hours, building up a mental blueprint while helping my mom with her night shifts. Didn't have a degree, but I had skills, and let me back up a sec. I had a plan. 3 days after the incident, Victoria called me into her office. Big glass windows, fancy leather chair, a wall of degrees behind her, all for show. She tried to smile, but her voice was pure frost. You understand why this can't happen again, right? Unauthorized staff poking into company business. She peppered me with questions. Where'd you learn this? Do you have any credentials? I told her the truth. I learned online on my own and didn't have a diploma to wave around. That's when she dropped the mask and made it clear. People like you just don't have the background for this kind of work. That line stuck with me. People like you. Didn't say much back, just nodded and thanked her. But inside, I was storing every word. I'd learned early that being underestimated is like being given a cheat code. They show you where they think you're weak, so you know exactly where to hit back when the time comes. That night, I logged onto my laptop as QuashDev. My online rep was solid, built on years of late-night grind. I'd contributed code to projects the company relied on solve problems their senior engineers still couldn't crack. And now I had a new problem to solve, one with real-world stakes. Here's where the twist comes in. A couple days later, I got a message on GitHub from someone called Technova Insider. Suspicious, right? But the way he talked the technical details, I realized I was talking to Alex Chun, David Chun's son, a senior engineer working remotely. Turns out he'd pieced together who I was after hearing his dad rave about the mystery girl in the meeting. Alex had been following my work online for years. He told me Victoria was claiming credit for fixing the bug, planning to use her heroics to get promoted. Even worse, she and Robert were using that crisis to justify mass layoffs and pocketing kickbacks for every engineer fired. That was my breaking point. I looped in Alex and threw him a data forensics expert named Priya. Together we dug into the system logs, the emails, the HR files. What we found, Victoria had built her whole career on stolen ideas, lifting solutions from junior staff, mostly people of color, and passing them off as her own. She'd even tampered with the performance review algorithms, making sure folks like me never had a shot while her own reviews glowed. It was all there: digital fingerprints, contracts, bonuses, emails, so arrogant you'd think she'd never get caught. I built a dossier thicker than a law textbook, with Priya pulling metadata and Alex providing insider access. We had graphs, audit trails, secret audio from diversity meetings where Victoria joked about firing people the algorithm's way. The day of her big promotion presentation, the entire company tuned in, 2,000 people plus execs dialing in from around the world. Victoria strutted on stage, oozing confidence, about to spin her fairy tale about leadership and expertise. That's when I stood up from the back row, my heart pounding. "Excuse me, Miss Sterling," I said loud and clear. "But there's a piece of this story you forgot. You should have seen her face." I walked down the aisle, plugged in my laptop, and flipped the projection to my GitHub, showing every timestamp commit. My name's Kesha Washington, also known as QuashDev, and every line of code in that solution is mine. I have the receipts. Gasps from the crowd, faces turning pale. Victoria stammered, tried to dismiss me as a fraud. She doesn't even have a degree, but I was just getting started. I played the audio of her scheming, threw the graphs up, showing racial bias in reviews, showed proof of her backdoor commissions for firing staff. Priya and Alex confirmed everything live on video. Robert tried to bluster, "That's out of context," but nobody was buying it. The CEO, Mitchell, looked like he'd been hit with a brick. Victoria's entire story unraveled in 15 minutes. I wrapped up by saying I didn't do this for revenge. I did it because I believe places like this can do better. Talent doesn't need a pedigree. It needs a fair shot. The applause was deafening. Security escorted Robert out. Victoria's face crumpled in real time, and for the first time ever, Mom saw me not as just the kid who helped after hours, but as someone the world finally had to respect. But here's the thing. Yeah, justice felt good, but did it change the whole system? 6 months later, I was running the new innovation and ethics office at Technova. The algorithms were fixed, productivity soared, diversity actually meant something, and the company had never been healthier. Mom finally got the care she deserved, and I started a scholarship fund for kids like me who never got their shot. Victoria. She couldn't get hired to sweep the floor at a startup that used my open source code. Robert lost his Malibu house to legal fees. Mitchell started preaching about real talent and opportunity at every tech conference. But people still argue online whether what I did was right or just another form of corporate revenge. So let me ask you, what do you think? Where's the line between justice and payback? In your neighborhood, your company, your life, who decides what's fair? Drop your thoughts below. Let's see if anyone's really ready for change, or if they just want to watch the next Keisha rise from the shadows.